Well, you've heard the saying that flying on an airplane is safer than driving a car. Now, studies say your chances of dying in an airplane crash are 1 in 13.4 million. That means you have a higher chance of dying in a shark attack or giving birth to quadruplets. So why are recent news stories about issues with Boeing aircrafts making flying look like a death trap? Since the incident where the door blew off an Alaska Airlines flight, Boeing, the company that manufactures the most popular commercial airplane in America, has been under fire. Their practices were scrutinized during 2 Senate hearings after whistleblowers accused the company of taking shortcuts that could risk the lives of 200 million Americans that fly every year. Take a look.
So the brake light on our plane went on, and we had to do an emergency landing in Philadelphia with no idea whether the plane was actually going to land or not.
Tonight, federal investigators are looking for 4 bolts that were critical to securing the door plug that blew off the Alaska flight. Those bolts could lie at the center of the cause of that huge chunk ripping from the plane.
A Boeing plane skid off the runway and burst into flames. That happened in Senegal, injuring 10 people.
The safety of Boeing was front and center at 2 Senate committee hearings on Wednesday. A former Boeing manager testified that he believes the company was involved in a criminal cover-up.
I literally saw people jumping on the pieces of the airplane to get them to align. I call it the Tarzan effect, among other improper methods.
Our first guest was called to the Senate floor to testify in these hearings. Take a look.
My name is Dr. John Barnett. I'm a former airline pilot and aviation safety expert. After the issues at Boeing started to come to light, I was actually quite shocked. Window fracturing, and most certainly the Alaska Airlines fuselage plug blowing out. These are extremely concerning occurrences. When I had first met Sam Salapore, the Boeing whistleblower, I had found him to be extremely intelligent. He is truly worried about people being hurt or injured. I was probably the most gobsmacked about his description on the assembly line of the 787 Dreamliner, where employees trying to get the fuselage together to lock by jumping on it. I have never in my career ever heard of this is how you get airplane parts put together. Another thing I heard was Sam talking about how he was threatened by his bosses. That's absolutely unbelievable. I've never heard of anything like this in the industry. If Boeing continues to operate like this year after year after year, then the danger only continues to increase.
Well, Dr. John Barnett is here. And Sean, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You've been a pilot for 10 years, and you say it's normal, obviously, for airplanes that have been in service for a long time to have malfunctions. It doesn't make them unsafe, just maintenance goes up, right?
That's correct.
And the accident rate is 0 in the last 15 years, but you're still shocked by some of the whistleblower testimony.
Yeah, very much so. Some of the things were indeed quite shocking. The one that we just saw in the clip where people were on the assembly line jumping on parts to get them to fit properly is, in fact, not how we build airplanes. That's not how we function in aerospace.
Why would that be? If that, in fact, is occurring, why would that be? Obviously, the last person in the world that would want a Boeing airplane to go down would be the people on it. The second group of people that would want it to go down would be the manufacturer. So they're not stupid. Why would they do something to compromise the integrity of the aircraft?
There's numerous reasons why this is happening, but the bottom line is this is coming down to money. There was a time when we built airplanes and then made money. This perspective has very much changed. Now it's about making money, and you happen to build airplanes.
I've been a pilot since I was like 17. I've been a consultant for the Airline Pilots Association. I've investigated airline crashes a number of times, testified with the NTSB Sunshine Committee, for different airlines. So I've been involved in a lot of investigation of these crashes, and there are a lot of reasons that go into why airplanes go down when they go down. It's unusual that an aircraft just stops flying and falls out of the sky. There's always a human factor involved, there's weather involved, there's all kinds of things you look at. But one of the rarest things is that a wing falls off or something, and an airplane just falls out of the sky. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, yeah, that is very much a fair
These are
statement.
pretty tough machines.
They are very tough machines, and they're built to be very resilient, and they have a lot of redundancy built into them.
Right.
The concern is that tremendous safety margin that we have built into those machines is definitely starting to erode, and that we don't want to take away from that safety margin. And all evidence is indicating that that very much is what is happening.
Do you think the public should be concerned about getting on a Boeing aircraft?
I think it's important not to scare people per se, but for everyone, the industry and the general public to be aware that corners are being cut at the expense of making more money. And there's all types of evidence to support that.
So what should be happening safety-wise that's not happening at Boeing? Is this to the point that these aircraft should be recalled? Should they be grounded until further inspection? What's your recommendation?
So the several things that need to be done is Boeing needs to regain their safety culture. They basically do not have a safety culture.
Well, they were self-inspecting for a long time.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that was put in place by the FAA in the early 2000s. But that concept is the fox guarding the hen house, if you will, where the people that were designated by the FAA to watch the internal process, their paychecks come from Boeing.
That's what I mean. It wasn't the fox guarding the hen house. The fox was in there actually frisking the hens. They were doing their own safety inspections.
Right, like we saw with the door blowout at Alaska Airlines, when NTSB went in to look at this with the FAA, it was amazing how they couldn't just seem to find the records behind the installation behind that door. All of a sudden, the paperwork couldn't be found. So it's about finally starting to recapture a safety culture, and probably equally as important is regaining an engineering culture. You have to listen to your experts on the floor, and the people that design the airplanes, not the people up in the money room.
Did you fly here?
Yes, I did, yeah.
What airplane?
A Boeing.
Where'd you sit?
1A, right by the exit.
Did it give you concern?
It really didn't give me concern. I was aware of the aircraft I was on, where normally I do not pay attention.
Coming up, this has escalated to a point where people are getting off the plane if it's a Boeing. The hashtag Boeing not going is trending. So should Americans feel safe to fly? Now, top aviation experts weigh in when we come back. Homeowners, when's the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles, and your equity is the target. Criminals forge your signature, and just like that, your home title can be transferred out of your name. That's why I partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Phil at HomeTitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you'll get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Phil.
The more I look into this Boeing thing, the more disturbing the information becomes.
Hey, so what's up with planes? Like, tires falling out of the sky, right from the plane, doors being ripped off the hinges mid-air.
We use search features like this on Kayak to filter out the problematic Boeing airplanes.
Now, I'm joined by aviation analyst Mike Boyd, aviation litigation consultant Richard Levy, and Allied Pilots Association representative Captain Dennis Trager. Now, Dennis, you say it used to be, if it ain't Boeing, I'm not going. So what's changed?
Boeing has changed. I flew on Boeing aircraft in the military in combat, where Boeing saved my life and protected me from the enemy outside the airplane. Now I feel like the enemy's within. And I fly the 737 NG and the MAX, the one that tragically crashed 2 times and took 346 lives. And we've learned about all that Boeing did. You're a pilot, you get it. You tell me what's on my airplane. It's up to me to learn about it, train to it, and how to deal with it if it malfunctions. Why is that important? Because it saves lives.
What's happening at the factory that makes this something that you have a different attitude about than you used to?
Airplanes are not IKEA furniture. When they don't match up, you can't just press them down and then jam a bolt in there. There are implications down the line on these intricately built aircraft. So what's happened is the layers, that safety margin, Boeing has reduced what it's doing, changed the way it's done business. Over a period of 20 years, they focused more on shareholder returns and dividends than they have on engineering excellence and quality of production. And we've seen the results.
And Richard, you say you're not buying that they're jumping on airplanes, jamming parts and pieces in.
Well, Dr. Phil, it was testified. I can't go against testimony, but I would imagine if somebody saw another person at the Boeing factory or Airbus jumping up and down, that would have caught the attention of supervisors there. So if they testified, then they did see it, but that's not the exact way to build and manufacture an aircraft.
You know, Boeing actually calls it force up fit. Force up fit. Think about it. Forcing the airplane to fit together. I'm not an engineer, but man, I hope you looked at the implications of that before you put that on a line and people flew on it.
Mike, you say Boeing has gone to rot. Has it gotten that bad?
Oh, yeah. They're more concerned with making money. They're more concerned with the stock price. They don't have a product. This is the big thing people have missed. It's our biggest exporter. They do not have a follow-on product. The Boeing 737 MAX 10, that's their future. It's 2-3 years delayed. Boeing could be the next RCA, which is just a name and not much else. So I think for America, it's more than just the airplanes. It's an issue of the entire economy of the nation being affected. Boeing is a company that needs to be completely restructured. Mr. Calhoun should not leave at the end of the year. He should leave this afternoon because this place has been wrecked. This is America's economy at stake.
Well, are these airplanes that are out there now flying, are those aircraft unsafe?
It's safe to fly out there. But what's happening now, unlike any time I've ever seen in my career in aviation, is that we have all this commercial pressure. We have a manufacturer that's failing to provide an aircraft that's properly assembled and engineered. We have a lot newer workforce out there. So we have all of these pressures happening at the same time. The last line of defense, your professional pilot, is going to keep it safe. But we're telling the world, you're really pushing the edge here.
That's why I wonder if people are overreacting, not saying that there shouldn't be corrections, not saying that there shouldn't be a restoration of engineering and safety margin built back in, but it doesn't mean that this fleet should be grounded, or does it?
These airplanes are safe the way they're flying today. Boeing has problems, no question about that. Can it be safer? Yes. And is Boeing putting together airplanes properly? No. End of discussion.
And to add to that, I think it's very important about how the media is sensationalizing.
If the flush lever doesn't work on a 777, it's a Boeing story.
A key part of this is maintaining the aircraft that you have to a safe level. We're flying older airplanes longer, which is safe, but you have to bring up your game and maintain them. And maintenance is now 40% more expensive than pre-pandemic. There is a commercial interest to do what you can. We have a saying in the cockpit, maybe you use this, Dr. Phil, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's safe or smart. Yeah. And that's the demon we're battling right now.
All right, coming up, we'll tell you what Boeing is saying. Plus, is there a culture of fear going on behind the scenes at Boeing? We'll talk about that next. I used to sleep terribly, but thankfully I found Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend that's packed with ingredients shown to improve sleep. Plus, Beam is founded in America and run by people who share our values like hard work and integrity. Their dream powder is made with a powerful blend of all natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. Beam's already improved over 17.5 million nights of sleep, helping people wake up and feel their best. Here's the deal. Beam's giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of up to 40% off so you can try their best-selling dream powder. Visit shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout for up to 40% off. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil. Code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Support an American company. Invest in yourself and get your best sleep tonight.
I want to start with, look, man, I'm traveling with my family on an airplane in like 48 hours. Are we safe? Are we okay?
I think the big thing here is that if you're on a MAX 9, which is at the central of all of these issues lately, those are probably the safest they've ever been. After the door plug blowout on January 5th, the plane was grounded for 19 days. There is a bit of a different question here about these other sort of one-off incidents. It's really important to remember here. Last time there was a fatal commercial airplane crash in the U.S., 2009, led to really significant changes of regulations and requirements for pilot training. Aviation in the U.S. is incredibly safe, especially on a commercial airline.
Well, tonight we're asking, are there really more things going wrong on airplanes? Now, keep in mind, noticing more problems with Boeing airplanes doesn't actually mean there are more problems with aviation safety. News coverage of a slew of Boeing incidences seems to be fueling fear. Travel website Kayak says there's been a 1,000% increase in users filtering out Boeing's 737 planes when searching for flights. Now, we took a look at a comparison that's been done between Boeing incidences and Airbus incidences. Red represent Boeing incidences, and this could be any incidents that's written up, and there's not a perfect comparison, but it's basically ballpark apples to apples here in terms of hours flown and number of aircraft. Now, is this a fair representation, or is this skewed in some way?
Well, the first thing is the absence of accidents is not the definition of safety. Clearly, the numbers show it matches the public perception that there's an issue. This is why you can't take one step back when it comes to taking care of the airplane, and you have to double down on the human factor that we've talked about, that the last line of defense, the pilots knowing about the airplane, the pilots being properly trained, and good gosh, keep 2 of them on there. There's talks of bringing it down to 1 pilot. This is an epic time for aviation, and it will decide where we're going to be in the decades ahead.
We got to this level of safety because of so many decades of improvements. And then now we're looking at charts like this.
And we have Boeing forgetting to put bolts back on a door that blew off for the Alaska plane and blew the doors off Boeing again.
And where are the quality assurance people that should have caught that? Well, that was cut back to save money. I wonder if the salaries of the upper level people, if their salaries are trimmed back to save money.
Airbus has probably a newer set of fleets out there. That could affect these numbers. But it doesn't change the fact that we're having issues here. And with Boeing, when a technician fixes an airplane, an inspector signs off. Boeing doesn't do that? That's outrageous. And that's another reason that we need a complete change at Boeing. They're searching industry to find somebody at Procter & Gamble or somewhere like that who could take it over. That's wrong. You need somebody who knows the aviation industry and knows how to build airplanes, not somebody who just came from Wall Street's favorite corner.
You've got to have an environment where if someone down on the line says, hey, we've got a problem here, they're not worried about losing their job or being parked out in a corner. And this culture of retribution and isolation, which whistleblowers have been courageous enough to talk about, that has no place in a safety culture, and that can lead to accidents.
They don't even have a safety culture,
Well,
right?
but it also brings in the FAA. You know, I've been at airlines where the POI, the personal inspector, would find something wrong, and he'd help try to cover it because it had been going on. He didn't want to make it public. The FAA doesn't have a lot of clean hands here, and I think we need to clean up the FAA as well.
Well, we reached out to Boeing, and representatives told us, quote, in 13 years of service, the Global 787 fleet has safely transported more than 850 million passengers on more than 4.2 million flights. The 787 can safely operate for at least 30 years before needing expanded airframe maintenance routines. Extensive and rigorous testing of the fuselage and heavy maintenance checks of nearly 700 in-service airplanes to date have found zero evidence of airframe fatigue. Under FAA oversight, we have painstakingly inspected and reworked airplanes and improved production quality to meet exacting standards. We are fully confident in the safety and durability of the 787 Dreamliner.
Well, that sounds like something out of the law offices of Boeing, Boeing, and Boeing. And the bottom line is that would be a wonderful statement if we trusted you.